Okay, cool. All right. All right, so thank you for coming. Today I'm going to be talking about listening, the listening process, and all the various steps that you could take to help, and also what hinders good listening. So the topics I'll be going over is being mindful, physically receiving communication, selecting and organizing communication, interpreting communication, and responding and remembering. And then some of the steps that'll hinder good listening is incomprehensibility, message overload, message complexity, environmental distractions, preoccupation, prejudgment and mind reading, pseudo-listening, and monopolizing. So what is listening? Well, communication begins with listening. Communication between two people is a give and a receive process, so you give, you get back. So naturally, listening is going to be a part of that process. Now, it's a deliberate effort. It doesn't come natural to all of us, of course. It's something you want to do. The average person spends 45 to 55% of their waking time listening to others, according to Buckley, MH, and a study done in 1992. So to start off, being mindful. So what this illustration shows you here is your mind's full or mindful. So to be mindful is to be in the moment, what's going on right now. What the problem with being mindful on the left side here is that you're worried about what's going on yesterday, or a test you might have going on the next day, or a move you might have to do, or various other things that are going on, instead of being mindful in the conversation that you're having with the other individual or speaker at hand. So, of course, to start off, being mindful places you in a good position for everything else to fall into place, to having a good listening experience and absorbing everything that person's telling you. So physically receiving communication, so what this is referring to is, as you can see here, everybody at the desk is sleeping. So to be a good listener, of course you need to have good sleep, being attentive, sitting in a posture that allows you to stay awake. Of course, here they're not getting much out of this. Another step is selecting and organizing communication. So this is a bad picture, but if you could see close enough, it pulls out certain things from these people that we all do. So it's like these preconceptive notions that we give people based on how they look, what they're wearing, their posture. For instance, this one has hostile attitude for the gentleman in the middle. Right here, losing interest, impatient. Down here, not open to communicating. So these are all things that we're sitting there trying to work around when we're sitting there trying to talk with somebody for the first time and or second time. And this is stuff that's all going on in the background, so we're not consciously doing it, but it's a cognitive process that we all do. And it affects our listening and speaking as well. Oh. That's fun. Just start from the beginning. All right. Okay. So interpreting, this has to do, again, with that previous picture that I showed you before. Your interpretations of what somebody's telling you is based loosely off of these preconceptions that you have of people. So if you go into a conversation where you've already determined, like, okay, you're dressed really nice, you have a tie on and a jacket, I'm going to assume that maybe you're educated, you make money, etc., etc., etc. Whereas, like, if you were talking with somebody that had like a basketball shirt on and shorts, and they're hanging down past their butt there, that they're not going to have that much to say to you, or they don't have that much to offer. or in fact they just might have an MBA, but these are the interpretations and perceptions that you're giving them already going into that conversation. So you've got to work really hard at not trying to do that with people you haven't met just yet. Another thing to remember is responding and remembering, of course, what the people are talking to you about. So responding, what I mean by that is that, as listeners, like I said before, you could sit attentively, you could nod your head, give nonverbal cues. Church, for instance, in some churches, people will call out and get into the sermon with the preacher, and that's a way of showing that they're being attentive to his speech at the time without interrupting him and what he's talking about. And then remembering statistically, after 8 hours, we only remember about a third of what was talked about. So we need to try to really focus on those important topics that we've listened to in order to retain that, because we are going to end up ultimately losing quite a bit of what we've listened to. All right, so a few things that hinder listening. Incomprehensibility. So what that means is that you could be speaking to somebody, or someone could be speaking to you that could be speaking in a different language, for instance, and you don't understand that. So they are communicating to you verbally, but you aren't getting what they're telling you at all. That could also be for cell phone reception, radio communication that comes through fuzzy. That would all qualify as not being able to comprehend what they're trying to tell you at that time. So you'll get a miscommunication in there because of that. All right, so this one's good. So as stated by Jackson in 2008, we simply can't attend mindfully to all the messages that come our way. So this is message overload. So in our era, the information area, we're constantly being bombarded from all directions of communication. So email, Skype, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, everything you could think of that's on a digital medium, and you're still getting junk mail as well. So message overload is when you're taking in too much of this stuff at once and you're not able to categorize any of it correctly. So you're getting a little bit, but not the whole story, if that makes any sense. And then there's message complexity, which goes along with that too. So I like this picture because what this pretty much explains it all. Like if I'm trying to explain to you gravity or rocket science, for instance, like for a crowd that doesn't, they aren't in school for it, or it's something that they're not related to, that might be a really complex subject to sit there and talk to them about. So in order for me to do that, I would need to simplify the message I'm trying to convey across, and then as a listener, it would be good for you to, maybe before going into a conversation like this that might be really complex, to read up on the subject, have a little bit of information and know-how about what they're going to be talking about, so you can retain more of that complex message being given out. All right, so environmental distractions. So right here is a good example of cell phones. That's an environmental distraction. Other things would be noisy cars out on the road, music playing in the background, anything that would be of a distraction that takes away from your ability to get the message being told to you. So best practice with this is try to minimize as much as that as possible, so that way you're being mindful in the moment during that conversation. Preoccupation. So as Wood states, one of the most common hindrances to listening is preoccupation. Again, this picture is great for it because I'm sure we all do it. coffee, for instance. I'm thinking of vacation on the beach, like Chelsea. Facebook, money, what's going on at work, I'm tired. These are all things that hinder your ability to be a good listener, because if you're thinking about all this stuff, then when somebody's sitting there trying to give you information and talk to you, you're not going to be able to retain that information as well if you block that all out during that time period. Now, if somebody, for instance, comes to you and you're already, knee deep in some kind of work, environmental distraction. Yeah. All right. So if you're already knee deep in work and somebody comes to talk to you, a good practice would be, hey, look, I'm really busy with what's going on, but I want to give you the time that you need in order to tell me what you need to. So how about we do this some other time? Like, let's do it in 10 minutes so I could get this done, and then I could give you my full attention. And that'll help as much as you can with this. So then you have prejudgment and mind reading. So that kind of goes back to the preconceptions and your perceptions about people already, about how they look. So on this left picture here, you have used car salesman, right? So first things that come to mind, he's gonna try to rip me off, gonna try to get as much as he can out of me, gonna sell me something that's broken. He's dressed, not too good, like new. There's already all these things that I'm starting to construct just by looking at the picture. Mind reading, this one's pretty funny as well, but we all do it. So what mind reading is that because of the prejudgments that you're already constructing, you're mind reading for that individual, for that car salesman. So whatever he's going to start talking to you, even though he hasn't talked to you yet, you're going to already have that laid out in your head. Like, whatever he tells me, he's going to rip me off. So even though he might be giving you actually a good deal, it's in your mind already, he's ripping me off. So that's what mind reading is associated with. And then pseudo listening. I do this with my boss at work a lot. So it's it's polite to act like you're paying attention. That's the best way to explain it. So you have a blank face, like this gentleman here, and you're not absorbing anything they're telling you. Like, I'm sure you've heard it goes in one ear and out the other, right? Well, that's pseudo listening. So during work, it's kind of dangerous because my boss might be telling me something that's pretty important, but he's usually not. So, but in some other cases, it might be useful, and it's usually looked down upon, especially if you're doing it to like friends and family, good associates, that kind of stuff. But usually that's associated with people or things that you're just like, I'm just going to be polite and act like I'm paying attention for them. All right, and then monopolizing. So there's two parts to this. So monopolizing is when you monopolize a conversation. That's what we're referring to. So the first part is conversational rerouting, as said in the textbook of Wood. So what that's referring to is